Hello everyone! Today I will be showing you all how to decorate your pointe shoes. This is just one way of doing it, but this is definitely something I would recommend for after you have used your pointe shoes to their limit and they are dead. Obviously these shoes are very shredded, very dirty, and I even jet glued them for an audition, but being dirty is not a sign of being dead. A sign of being dead is if you can feel the floor on the tip of your shoe, on your toes, or if you are arching too far over. And so those are a few signs of being dead, and your teacher will most likely tell you, oh, your shoes are dead, you need to get a new pair, or you need to switch off with a pair you already have that is more alive than these shoes that you're currently wearing. So I am going to be showing you a very, very simple way of doing this, and for this you will need obviously one dead shoe. Just do one at a time and see how you like it. You could always make a pair, but most people just decorate one. And you will need the ribbon on it because one part of this uses the ribbon. And I'm not using the ribbon on this shoe because it is very dirty, but I'm using some shiny ribbon that a friend of mine had. You will also need fabric scissors, a seam ripper, mine looks like that. You will also need a hot glue gun, and children or tweens or teens that are not comfortable with crafts or have not done many crafting projects using a hot glue gun need to be very aware that these things get so hot. You need to have adult supervision if you do not feel comfortable with it, or just ask your parents before you use it, because I have gotten many burns, to name a few, here, here, and yesterday here. But of course they won't be permanent, but you just need to be sure that your parents don't mind you using their hot glue gun or a hot glue gun. One thing I've learned while using hot glue for crafting is to use something over your fingers when you're pressing on the object, because it can get very hot even through the fabric. So I'm just using a piece of cardboard for that. And then you need fabric. Now for this one, the beauty of it is you do not need a lot. So this is just a scrap piece. This is a good way to use your scrap pieces, but I found that for this project, I was doing it at a birthday party, and it got really expensive buying fabric by the yard, and so I didn't do that because it would have been about $16 per person. I actually found these fabric quarters at Joann, and this is kind of what they look like when they are in the store. They're like this, and they measure 18 inches by 21 inches, and the day I went, they were on sale for $2.49. And I'll show you what the tag looks like, just so you have an idea. I have a lot of tags here, but here's what the tag looks like. Just says fabric quarters, 18 by 21 inches. And if you go to Joann, you might see these on the shelves. Just look around for them, but they are a much cheaper way of getting them in. You'll have plenty if you have a fabric quarter. So all these fabric selections I have here are fabric quarters. This one is, I haven't decided which one I'm going to use. You'll see in the video which one I end up using, but this is just a piece, like I said, of a fabric quarter. I like that. And here's a green one, green with flowers. And I can't guarantee that your store will have the same patterns as the ones I'm picturing, but the stores vary, depending on what they get in their shipment. And then this is another one. I might end up using this one, but you really don't need much. I'll tell you how much my piece needed to be in a few seconds here, but I'm going to get started now. And also, one other thing I recommend you to have is clear nail polish. And this is just an everyday brand of that. It's pretty cheap, but for this project, I am using, like I said, a piece of ribbon from the pointe shoe. You can cut them off, or I'll show you in the video how to do it, but this one is very shiny, and the ends tend to get frayed on these. So normally when you're wearing them, you use clear nail polish, or you just try to keep it unfrayed, but for this project, you just want it to look clean cut, so use some on there. But I'll show you how to do that all in just a second. To start off, you need to take off your ribbon. So for example, I sew on my ribbon one on each side, and you can check out my how to sew your pointe shoe video. I'm probably going to do another one when I sew my pointe shoes again because I did not do a very good job explaining it, but that gives you an idea of how I do mine. If you look, these are my pair of Grishko 2007s, 4.5 4X medium shank, and there is a seam right on the middle of the shoe. You can see that on the outside as well. On the inner side, you can see that let's turn this around. The ribbon I have left on this shoe, I took off the other piece, but I sew it right behind that seam. And then I sew the elastic right behind that, and I do a loop of elastic, so that just goes around your foot, and the other elastic piece. So there's a seam right here as well on the back, on the heel area, and I just put the pieces of elastic right on either side of that seam, and the other piece of ribbon would go behind this seam here. But I already took off one piece, and I'm just seam ripping the ribbon off of my shoe. And the way I sew my ribbon, I can do this. You can't always do this, but it just gives it a very clean look once the shoe is decorated rather than cutting it off, but that is always an option as well. Be careful when you're using the seam ripper because you can easily put the point into your finger. Okay, so I've seam ripped off the ribbon, but I have a few little pieces of the fabric of the pointe shoe that I want to cut off. So using my fabric scissors, I'm just going to cut that off. And any threads you want to take off as well, if you can. So I'm just pulling any threads out and cutting any things out as well. Alright, there we are. So now the ribbon, both pieces of ribbon are out and we just have the elastic on. For the elastic, I already tried seam ripping it, but it just takes a long time and it does not budge because elastic is much more hardy. And so I'm just going to use the fabric scissors, and pulling tightly, I'm just going to give it some tension and try to cut right along those seams. There we go. One done. Now the other side. And it doesn't matter if you get any of the little flap in there. You're really not going to notice it once you've decorated your shoe. So there we go. There's a shoe that just looks like how it is when you buy it. No ribbons, no elastic, no nothing. So you can throw your elastic away unless you, of course, reuse it. For me, it's kind of hard because the end gets a lot of sewing done to it. So it's really hard and it would hurt. And I wouldn't have much elastic room left if I sewed below that. Anyway, so just throw your elastic away. And the next step is to take out the drawstring. This might seem like an unnecessary step, but to me it just makes it much more clean looking. And to take out the drawstring, I knot my drawstring. I know not everybody does that. So you can take out the knot, and if you are having trouble taking out the knot, you can always try to use a needle. That can sometimes help pull it out because sometimes they're just so tight. Or another option is just to cut it. Cut the drawstring out, so pull on the drawstring to tighten the shoe. As you can see, it's bunching. And then cut right below your knot if you make a knot. And now it's still bunching, but one of the ends should go into your pointe shoe. And then just pull on the drawstring, pull on the shoe, pull on the drawstring, pull on the shoe, keep pulling, and eventually it comes out. This is actually a very small piece because I cut off the knot already, which is here. But throw these pieces away. I'd recommend having a trash can near you at all times for this project, of course. Okay, so now you got your shoe all plain. Now it is time to pick out your fabric. So I will come back when I've chosen one. So I've chosen this green fabric with white flowers, and it is, I've cut it to 7 inches wide by 8 inches tall. And you can use a mat to cut on, or to, yeah, you can cut on it. It doesn't have to be a straight line, as you can see mine is not. But anyway, so that is what you want your measurements to be. For my shoe anyway, that is what it will be. Depending on the length of your foot, it might get bigger. So please just know you might have to experiment with this. What you want it to be, essentially, is you put your shoe down and you put your fabric over it, and you want it to be able to cover the bottom and the sides right along where the drawstring is contained. So as long as it covers all the bottom, all the sides on the inside right here, and on the drawstring on the outside, that is good. So cut it to whatever it needs to be in order to do that. And then join me for the next step, which is going to be figuring out how we're going to do this. So lay it over, and you don't need it to cover the whole shoe. As you can see, mine is not covering the whole shoe. Just cover it right above the drawstring, and then what we want to do is put some glue along the shank, which is right here, and put some glue along the sides on the inside. But I want to be able to have clean lines, and so I want to mark up how I want to cut it. So I'm just going to hold the fabric along the shank, and then if it starts to like kind of fold along itself, kind of like mine's doing right now, that is perfectly fine because it will just add to the look of cuteness. What I'm going to actually do first is glue along the shank with the hot glue, and so I'm going to do that right now. Make sure you have enough hot glue in there, and then just glue. Be very careful, of course. Sometimes this glue gun does not work very well, but sometimes you have to press the glue in. Just have to experiment with it sometimes. There we go. It doesn't need to be much. Hot glue, little goes a long way for hot glue. And then just place your fabric down. And do that as quickly as possible because hot glue likes to dry quickly, if you haven't already noticed that in your crafting projects, so just be aware of that. And then I'm going to add some glue along the bottom there, but you can see what I am doing. I'll tilt this down a little bit more. And use your cardboard to secure that. Because the heat goes right through the fabric. Alrighty. So now I am ready to glue along the bottom where the heel goes. So that's just below the shank. So right in there. Sorry, you can't see that. Right in there. Just so it secures it. And be careful with your fingers. Didn't just burn myself, but just be careful the whole time you're doing this. Sometimes you can't get the cardboard into those hard to reach areas, so sometimes you won't be able to do that, but whenever you can, do it. Really. Okay. So now it's time to cut along the outside. And actually, I'm going to add a little bit more hot glue along the top area here. Alrighty. So now you can see I've almost got like a little basket along the bottom. It's all in there. And hot glue makes these little strands, so take them off as they come. Now just begin marking right where, see this line right here? Right along there on your fabric. Alright, I've now finished snipping off all the ends, and now I am going to glue. So I'm going to glue the fabric along the outside, and I'm going to begin. I'm going to start at the top because that is where I started cutting, but I don't think it really matters where you start. Just make sure that you are doing it so it's not bunching or just laying everything flat. So there we go. Got the first piece done. It's all one piece, so makes it kind of easier. Just bits at a time. Now with this one I've got a fold over piece, so I gotta fold that over. So there we go, and then I'm just going to keep going. Gluing down along the outside and pressing the fabric over it, making sure it's tight. So it's looking really good. And hot glue, like I said, dries very quickly, so you don't need to worry about holding it down too long. Just press it on there, and you can use your other finger on the inside to press it. Just going to add a little bit of hot glue along this inside here. And I'd recommend doing this on top of a cutting safe mat. I got mine at Walmart, and it is Fisker's brand. But it just helps it not hurt your table. I mean, hot glue is very hot, so got to be very careful with it. As you can see, this side is now done. I think it looks really cute. Now I continue. It's really just a process where you work it out while you go. Depending on how you cut your fabric and all, it'll just change as you go. Okay. Just gonna snip that end because it's uneven. So as you can see, it's working out. That's what it looks like. I'm still gluing though. Sometimes you can even use unused hot glue sticks before you put them in to press down on things because they're nice and hard. To press down to save your fingers. Alright. You can actually see the smoke coming off of the hot glue gun. Because the longer you have it heating up, the longer it'll get. Like the hotter it'll get. So the longer you have it plugged in, the hotter it'll get. I'm making some snips here. I'm going to snip this over here. That didn't go so well. Gotta snip that again. And don't worry about it being perfect either. Alright, almost done here. I think that was the last piece. And there we have it. But I'm not done yet. Now I'm going to add the ribbon bow. You can put your hot glue gun off to the side just now. But clean off your workspace. Right now I have a lot of snips of fabric here and there. So just throw those away. It's always good to clean off your workspace right after you finish something, because then if you have one more detail to add, there's no chance of the little pieces going into that last detail and getting stuck if you are gluing. Alright, so right now this is what it looks like. Zoom out so you can see. And I think that looks super duper cute. And now I'm going to add the ribbon bow. And I've already got a few of these made, but that is what they look like, and that'll go right there. So this is how you do this bow. You just make a bunny ear or a loop, hold that down, wrap this bottom piece, loop, hold that down, there's the loop, wrap it around, and then pull that piece through where your finger is. And then just pull the loops out. So I'll show that one more time. How to do the bow is just loop and press down, loop around, and then right where you've got that space right there, where my finger is sticking through, push that loop through there. So you need to make the ears big enough, the bunny ears. so that it doesn't just flop out into the ribbon again. But there we go. There you have it. So this one is already made, but first I'm going to fix the ends that are fraying. So I think what I'm going to actually do is make cute little ends. What you do is, there are many ways of doing this, but you just cut up from, going from the corner, you cut up this way, and then you go back where you just left and go down. So it makes that kind of look like that. And so I'm just going to fix this side here. I need to curve it more. Much better. That's what that looks like. So like I said, you're just taking out a triangle from it. So start at the bottom on this side. Now once you've got that slice made, go to where the slice ends and then just go down from there to the end. I think that makes a cuter look. And just try to make the bow, maneuver the bow so that it can lay flat on the shoe. And now I'm going to use clear nail polish to seal those ends so that they will not fray. So just get some nail polish on the end of it. Be over an area where it's safe to do this, and then just seal the ends like so. Almost like you're painting on top of them. Just the ends. It's not like you'll be dancing in this or anything, but this just gives it a cleaner look. And if any of you are thinking in dancing in decorated pointe shoes, do not do so. It could be very harmful to your feet because the extra fabric makes it more slippery. So just don't try that. Alright, now I'm going to do the other side. You can tell I'm just going on the edge of the fabric and then getting the little ends too. I'm going on this end, and you might have to put the end of this that goes into the actual nail polish, clear nail polish, back in so you get more on there. There we go. There we got the ends. Now we just have to wait for those to dry so that we can glue this on. Alright, so the bow is now dry with the clear nail polish, and I am ready to hot glue it on there. So you just want to put some hot glue on the back knot of the bow. So turn the bow over. Put a big chunk of hot glue right in the middle there. Let's see if we got a... Sometimes you have to pull the trigger outward. There you go. And now put the hot glue gun down and place the bow. And press down. Pull off the strings that are being made. And now you just have to wait for that to dry, which will be done in about 10 seconds. Now you've made your pointe shoe, and you should feel very accomplished, but I would just recommend taking off any little pieces of the satin that are just hanging on by basically a thread. So I'm just using the fabric scissors to cut those off. And there are just a few pieces there that I figured I would do. few little pieces of thread. One little piece of thread there. And now keep taking off any of those pieces, but I'd recommend, so your shoe will look like this from the way you normally wear it, but most people would show their pointe shoes this way, so that it shows it's really a pointe shoe. So now that my pointe shoe is officially done, I thought I'd show you it outside. And there it is.